Let's move on to verse 3. It says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. What is the term endurance? How do you produce endurance? Let's think of it as if you're training for a marathon. For anyone that has done any sport or athletics, whether it's soccer, basketball, running, baseball, I don't know what other main sports there are here in Korea, volleyball. Let's think of it in that. To produce endurance for a runner, what do? If you can't run a mile, you start little by little. You start trying to run half a mile. Oh, it won't be a mile here, would it? Kilometers, yes. Yeah, well, for me, it's always been miles. So I'm very stuck with just miles.
Kilometers better than a mile anyways.
So just bear with me.
Well, all right.
So just bear with me. I'm going to be talking about miles instead of kilometers. So to run a mile, if you can't do that, what do? You slowly train little by little. You run half a mile a day. And then you slowly progress to 0.75 of a mile. And then you run to that 1 mile. And then once you're satisfied with that 1 mile, you try to do more and more, especially when you're preparing for a marathon. Your goal is to be able to run the whole marathon. So what do? You continue to keep training every day, running that 1 mile to 2 to 3 to 5 to 20 miles. You continue to keep enduring, so your endurance builds up. When it comes to basketball, what do? You shoot the ball. You practice your shot. You practice your form. You work out. You run. You do all these other things, dribble. And that's how it produces that endurance in your body, in your lungs, your legs, your arms. It produces that endurance if you continue to keep training. When it comes to football, American football, there's also a different kind of training that you do for football. Instead of running long miles, hours on end, you practice those short sprints so you could get better and quicker at that moment. So in the perspective of athletics, endurance is just that continual practice every single day as you train. Let's put it in a perspective, let's put it in our walk today. As you walk, as you're going through these trials, you don't just sit there and do nothing. I think what James is saying is that you have to, to produce endurance, you do all these small things as well, whether it's praying, and then trying to, if you lost your job, for example, it's pray, but also go seeking that job. If you're sick, pray, trust in God, His promises. But then at the end of it, it's go see medical help as well. For example, Pastor Miller did that this week. He's been sick. I don't know what he has, but he's been sick. So it's a small trial that he's been going through. He's been sick, but he was kind of just sitting there, waiting, drinking tea, seeing if that would help. Praying that he would heal. But then that small thing didn't help. So what did he do? He went up, got up the next day, went to the hospital, and got medication, antibiotics, and all these different things. And he says he's doing a lot better today than he has been this whole week. So eventually, once you continue to endure, you will be able to keep fighting through your walk. You'll be able to just continue to keep going. Let's go to verse 4. It says, and let endurance have its perfect result, so that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. This verse 4 is basically the why to verse 2 and 3. It's the answer of why you should endure through trials. So the word let, it means the submission to God during these trials. It doesn't mean to just sit there and not pray for relief. James doesn't tell us not to do anything in the midst of our trials. He tells us, go, pray, have this faith, but at the same time, go act upon it as well. Look for that job. Look for that medical service that you need. Endurance isn't something that will happen right away. I think that's something that we tend to forget. To build endurance, it takes time. It doesn't take one day and you're done. It takes multiple and multiple and multiple steps to produce that endurance that you need. So it continues to say that perfect result. Let endurance have its perfect result. That perfect result, it doesn't mean that we're going to become perfect and blameless and all this stuff. We're still sinners saved by grace. But even becoming, I guess you could say, having that perfect result, to produce that perfect result, it's like endurance. It takes time. You're going to get things wrong. You're going to have different mistakes. But in the end, you will have that perfect result. So if you kind of put it, your walk or endurance and perseverance in a school perspective, basically having endurance and perseverance is that course requirement for the class of faith. And you know what's funny? That we're not going to, the only time that we're ever going to be able to graduate is not when we're in high school, college, or once we get that job that we really wanted and desired. The only time that we're going to stop going through trials and be perfect, lacking in nothing, is when we go to heaven. So don't expect that once you go through this one trial, it's done. I could tell many, or a lot of the people that have been walking with God could probably say that is not true. One trial isn't the only trial that you're going through. Because that one trial isn't going to teach you everything that you need through your walk with God. The thing that God wants for us in a trial is that we become perfect, complete, lacking in nothing. It's being equipped and prepared for what God has for you. So I guess I'll put it in the perspective of my life. I know that I'm up here speaking this to you, but I know why God wanted me to speak this to you as well. It's because even I go through this all the time. When I'm going through a trial, and granted my trials may not be the same as yours, especially for those that are older than me. I know you've most likely gone through a trial that I have yet to go through. I haven't lost someone so close to me where it destroyed me for weeks. I haven't lost that job where I couldn't find another one immediately. There's so many different trials that I know many of you have gone through that I know I haven't. But that doesn't mean that this message isn't for me as well, because I know for the future, I'm going to need this just as much as you. Especially that part where it says, "Count it all joy, my brother, when you face or endure trials of various kinds." Because I know I'm not perfect at that either. I never necessarily count a trial as joy. I always look at God and say, why? Why am I going through this trial? Why are you putting me through this? And I know a lot of us might have the same thought. If you don't, you may be a better Christian than I am. But, props to you for that. But for me, it is the hardest thing to endure when you're going through a trial, and especially counting it all joy. But through this passage, it trains me and prepares me not just to look at the now, but look at the end. And continue to work on myself and mature and grow. So at the end of it, I'll see that maturity and that growth being perfect, lacking in nothing, complete and blameless. Since you may be going through a trial today, maybe you might not be. But I want to remind you that you got to stay strong. Count it all joy, persevere and endure, so you may be blameless, perfect, lacking in nothing. Yeah, let's pray. God, Lord, I just want to thank you for this day. Thank you for this message that you had for everyone here, even myself included. That even I am still maturing and growing. Just because I'm up here speaking your word doesn't mean that I'm perfect. That I'm still sinful. That I am imperfect. But God, I just pray that this message will continue to stick in my head, my heart, and remind me when I go through a trial to count it all joy, persevere and endure. And Lord, I just pray that this message sticks with everyone else here today as well. That they will persevere, they will endure, and they will continue to count it all joy, because at the end of that tunnel, they will see the light, see the maturity and preparing them for what is next. And Lord, I just pray for everyone that's going through a trial right now, whether it's a lost job, whether it's a lost family member, a sickness, or even to the small battles that we have of our sons or daughters are just being a pain in the butt. Our brothers and sisters are just annoying us. Lord, I just pray that you be with us, comfort us. As we still mourn, give us that guidance to joy. Give us that guidance to find you and trust in you. And continue to love you, God. Yeah, God, Lord, I just want to thank you again. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.